Mercedes just teased a new G-Wagon that's coming, and a lot of people didn't expect it, and I think a lot of people are confused about what this G-Wagon is and where it's going to fit into the lineup. So let's talk about this new G-Wagon and some other upcoming G-Wagons you may not know about. Welcome back to Exotics Anonymous. Please like the video for me, subscribe if you're not already so you don't miss any new car news before it happens. Now let's get into talking about this new G-Wagon and other new G-Wagons that are coming. Alright, so Mercedes teased this new G-Wagon a couple days ago. I'm going to throw up pictures for you on the screen of whatever I can find. They didn't release too much. They really only released a couple short videos, so I'll see what I can do in terms of pictures. Essentially, it's a convertible G-Wagon. Now, it's very quickly obvious right away that this is a convertible. The back of the car literally unfolds and, drops the top. The roof begins just above, like kind of behind the front sun visor, so it is most of the driver's seats as well will be open to the elements after you take the top off. Something I do want to clear up right away, because I think some people may have been confused that this was supposed to be like a budget version of the Maybach Landaulet G-Wagon they made a couple years ago that there were only 99 units of. This is not really a cheaper version of that, because in the Maybach Landaulet G-Wagon, when you drop the top, the rear seats are like, out over the back of the car. It's like being driven around in like a G-Wagon convertible limo almost. This car drops the top over the whole car, but there's not like rear seats out the back. Like the rear seats are in the same spot they are in a normal G-Wagon, and instead of having like a big trunk behind you, that's where the convertible mechanism goes. So this isn't like a cheaper version of the Maybach one, essentially. I mean, it's a cheaper convertible G-Wagon, obviously, but this isn't the Maybach Landaulet equivalent where it's like you're being chauffeured around. This car was never intended to be that high level of a car. That those G-Wagon Landaulets will still maintain their rarity even after this comes out. So, new party trick, the roof comes off the G-Wagon, still expecting that twin-turbo V8 4-liter engine to be in there. That's been such a great engine for, the past 10 years now. I do expect it to have to switch to that M177 Evo V8 at some point, which is compliant with a lot of the regulations and stuff like that. I don't know if it will be in this facelifted one or if maybe it's not going to happen until the G-Wagon gets a full redesign, but at some point that new V8 will go in there. So we'll lose the cross-plane crank sound and get the flat-plane crank sound. Not the end of the world, it's still a V8, especially in this day and age, but at some point the G-Wagon will sound a little less good than it currently does. Interior-wise, pretty much exactly the same as the current G-Wagon. I don't love that steering wheel Mercedes has been doing the last couple years, but it's better than a lot of other steering wheels, especially the stuff that just came out of BMW with the X5. So we can't complain too much, but not my favorite Mercedes wheel. I do think they peaked in like 2020, 21, around there with the Mercedes steering wheels, like in the GT63S, E63, the wheel with the dynamic control knobs. That was peak Mercedes steering wheel, but for now, not too bad overall. G-Wagon interior, pretty much the same otherwise. I expect a couple little things like in the back because the roof will be gone. I think they'll try to make it special in some way, but it's not going to be like a full Maybach treatment of a G-Wagon convertible. I am curious how much of that trunk space will still be usable because the roof mechanism looks like it folds directly into the trunk. So it makes me wonder if you won't even be able to access the trunk with the roof down. Like that seems like a legitimate concern just because of the shape of the car and everything. Maybe they figured out how to fold it like halfway into the trunk so there's still like a little bookshelf of room or something below the folding mechanism. I don't know, and they haven't shown us yet. So it's really hard to say at this time, but this definitely will not be the G-Wagon that's more practical than the regular G-Wagon by any means. This is a car for people in a warm weather climate, Florida, California, places like that want to drop the top most of the year and don't necessarily need the practicality of a regular G-Wagon, which, not to say a G-Wagon's as practical as like a GLS or something like that, but it's a big enough SUV to do basic, hauling things with. And it is capable of towing in many cases as well. I assume this one will still be able to tow just fine. I just don't think you're going to have as much trunk space behind you. It won't be as practical as a standard G-Wagon. Now, the reason this car is a big deal is Mercedes hasn't done a convertible G-Wagon since the two-door convertible one from like 2005, I want to say. Other than the 99 Maybach Landaulet units, but those were like $1 million or something like that, so it's just a ridiculously expensive car, especially for a G-Wagon. So this is really the first like production convertible G-Wagon we will have had in well over 2 decades, but even the two-door ones were very limited. I don't expect these new ones to be very limited at all. I think pretty much anybody will be able to order one as long as you have, some G-Wagon ownership history already. Mercedes does kind of play that game, at least at the dealership level, with, how many G-Wagons have you had if you want to order a new one, or you have to buy a 2025 G550 to get a 2025 or 26 G63, like that type of thing. So the convertible one, I'm assuming some of that game will need to be played to get one brand new, but I don't think these things will be like crazy rare by any means. I think you'll be able to get your hands on one if you really want to. Okay, now I did mention there's another G-Wagon coming, and there is, but I want to do a quick recap of like the recent G-Wagons we've had just so you understand where this new one's going to slot in a little better. So going back a generation before this current G-Wagon generation, so I'm talking like the 2009 to 2018 generation, we had a G-Wagon, a G550, we had the G63, And we also had a G65 with the V12, which was also really cool. It's kind of a shame we haven't seen that on this current generation G-Wagon. But then we got into the special ones, like the already mentioned G Landaulet, the Maybach Landaulet one with the convertible top where you could be driven around in the back of the car. That was really cool. But my personal favorite G-Wagon of that generation was the 6x6. Mercedes made very few of these. I think it's only like 88 or 86 units for the whole world. Many of them got the Brabus kits and got converted like that, and some of them were imported to the US. Not a ton, but more and more have been popping up, I've noticed. So I really love the G-Wagon 6x6. That's another one I don't understand why Mercedes hasn't made a factory version of on this newer G-Wagon, because when the G-Wagon was refreshed in 2019, it became way more usable on an everyday basis. Like the last generation G-Wagon was still kind of rough around the edges and everything. The new G-Wagon's great. It's got like the E-Class dashboard, plenty of creature comforts, everything you could really want, especially in like a, you know, big boxy car that's more like a Jeep than it is like a regular SUV. The G-Wagon's very nice. So I wish they'd make a 6x6 version on this generation, because I think that'd be the best of both worlds. But instead, so far, we've gotten a standard G-Wagon G550. I believe there's going to be a G500, if there's not already, with like either a V6 powertrain on the facelifted one. They've introduced the electric G-Wagon now as well, and we've got the G63 at the top of the range, of course. Now, one thing that's missing from all the G-Wagons I just mentioned on the last generation and this generation, there's really not one affordable one on that list. The G-Wagons have always been expensive, but they've gone astronomically expensive, especially the last couple of years, breaking $200,000 for a giant box that used to be like the utilitarian Mercedes, if you wanted to call it that. Now it's like such a status symbol that the price is just insane. They go over sticker for years. They barely depreciate. Like it's pretty crazy the market the G-Wagons have created for themselves. Not that they're not a bad car and they're not worth it, but there's such a demand behind them just from pop culture that they like really are a market of their own. They're nowhere near the performance of something like a Urus or an Aston Martin DBX, yet they command similar money. So that just goes to show you how big of like a status symbol it is to have a Mercedes G-Wagon, especially like a G63. And this new convertible G will take that even further. But there's really not an affordable, like entry-level G-Wagon that somebody could get into until now. Until now is the wrong word because this isn't official yet, but I know about it. There's going to be a baby G, a smaller G-Wagon, a more affordable G-Wagon, a non-V8 G-Wagon, which is disappointing, but it's going to be a smaller G-Wagon, almost like a Toyota FJ of like years ago size type of thing. Like it's not going to be as big as the current G-Wagon or like a current Land Rover Defender or anything like that. It's going to be smaller. I'm expecting it to have the 6-cylinder engine that's in like the base G-Wagons they just introduced. I have a feeling that's why that happened in the first place. It could have the Turbo 4 that they've been putting in a lot of stuff, but I happen to know they've been kind of phasing out the Turbo 4 where possible in order to keep the V6 or the 6 cylinders in a lot of their lineup. So I'm leaning towards this baby G having a 6-cylinder, but there is no confirmation of that yet. I'm just going off what I'm expecting, kind of what I'm hearing through the grapevine. So yes, an entry-level price point baby G-Wagon is coming. It'll probably look a lot like the G-Wagon, just smaller, which will be good, but I think the size difference though will give away that, hey, this is like the baby one. I don't think it's going to be quite the same like status symbol, but they're going to be fun. There's going to be people, I'm sure people are going to be like, oh, I'm mobbing around in my baby G, you know, so, or LARPing or whatever anyone wants to call it. Like it's going to be a thing for a little bit, I'm sure, when they come out, but it is going to be a cheaper G-Wagon, and I don't think that will be completely ignored, but it'll be good. There's another option for people that want that like driving style and experience, but can't fork out 200 grand for a G-Wagon, because it is kind of ridiculous how expensive they've gotten. In terms of when we'll see the baby G, I am expecting later this year or into next year a little bit. I don't think it will be before the convertible G-Wagon's fully unveiled. I don't think we're very far from the convertible G-Wagon being unveiled at all, like definitely by the end of the year. Exactly when isn't really clear. I know they did like the winter testing this past winter, so the car should be pretty much ready to go soon. I mean, they showed it with very little camouflage in their press release, so I think we're getting very close on the convertible G-Wagon. Baby G-Wagon, let's just say 6 months to a year after whenever the convertible is officially unveiled would be my estimate. So that's the news on the new convertible G-Wagon and the baby G upcoming G-Wagon, and kind of a history of the whole G-Wagon lineup we just did, so that's awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If there's any other topics you want me to cover, please let me know in the comments. I had people surprised to see this G-Wagon was happening, and I saw some comments online about it as well that no one knew this convertible one was coming. So I thought I'd make a video for you guys here, all up to speed on the G-Wagon lineup and future G-Wagon lineup that I know about as best I can provide. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for me if you're not already, and please like the video for me. It really helps it get out there in front of more people. I do videos like this all the time, talking about upcoming cars before you probably would have heard about them anywhere else. So I hope if you enjoy that kind of content, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next Exotics Anonymous video. Have a good one.